My name is Jim Jarosz. I'm at Cedar Rapids, Nebraska, which again is in northeast Nebraska. And in 1970, my wife and I moved from Columbus, Nebraska, back to Cedar Rapids, which is where I grew up on a farm west of town here a ways. But we needed a place to live, and in this area there was 5 acres for sale with a home, so we bought it. And so through the years, I started selling lots. Also through the years, we still own 1 acre right in this area, and so you got to pay tax. So I've tried to keep it productive in alfalfa through the years, and I guess it just amazes me. This field we're standing in here has been to alfalfa for since 1972. In 1989, the stand was getting pretty thin, so I went in with an airway aerator. Which is basically has spiked teeth on it, and it aerates the soil if you're using it for aerating soil. And you can put it in a more aggressive mode and tear the soil up. So that's what I use to come in on this acre of ground and just kind of loosen it up. And we reseeded with a common alfalfa seed, which is harvested. In fact, the neighbor over here to the north of me is the one. He sells alfalfa seeds that he harvests off of farms in the area. So we seeded it, and what we seeded took hold. And so through the years, what I've done in this field, basically from working with Conklin, some ideas and other knowledge that I've gained working with alfalfa, every spring I like to put on 300 pounds of gypsum. And then the other thing we do, and I really started this about 6 years ago, is after every cutting, spray 2 to 3 gallon of 9-18-9. And what we're standing in now is, this is about the 11th of September, and this is 4th cutting. Now we've had a lot of rain in this area, and I've so far to date have taken 6.3 ton off of this field. The elevator with the scale is nearby, and so I just like to see what it's doing, and that's what we've taken to date is 6.3 ton. This is dry land. It's just whatever moisture we can get from Mother Nature. Now last year I would say, and I can't remember for sure the tonnage, I think we were down, and I did take 5 cuttings last year, but we were down somewhere like 6.5 ton total for the season. But the fact is, I fertilized after that 5th cutting just to kind of help the crop because it was late. And so this year, this particular field, again, we're at 6.3. We're going to cut this 4th cutting. I'd like to have it cut already, but weather kept us from doing that. And so this coming Thursday is when I hope to cut it, and we'll see what it does. I'm sure we're going to make 1.5 tons with this. And so I also want to do a relative feed value test on it to see what we have. So there is some bluegrass in the stand, and the stand is not real. It's not as thick as some people would maybe like to have it. And probably where I look at this and look at the fertility program that we've talked about with Conklin, foliar feeding and so forth, I have a book on alfalfa production by a Dr. Harold Wills that I picked up. But in this book, he states that properly fertilized alfalfa stands can live 30 to 40 years. And so I think maybe we're seeing that here with the foliar feeding. I think gypsum and the sulfur in gypsum plays a big part in that. And so we'll see how we yield here when we cut this cutting and see what the total for the year is in 2007. And I plan on leaving it alfalfa forever if I can. Just because it's a small lot, 1 acre, and unless we would sell a lot for building purposes, it'll stay like this as long as we can keep it. As you see, there's a couple weeds out here. For a field that is old as this one is, this summer we virtually had no weeds. Now I do a lot of custom cutting, so I get in other people's alfalfa fields, and in this area, 3rd cutting was terrible with pigweed, foxtail, and whatever. 2nd cutting wasn't too much better. I think with all the moisture we've had, that also encouraged weed growth in a lot of fields in our area. But the field across the road from us, that's virtually free of any type of weeds. And I think that's coming on the 4th year for that field. And I've cut hay in 4-year-old fields that are really weedy. There is a theory out there by some, and I think maybe it's mentioned in this book, that if you keep your fertility proper, you have less weed pressure in a field. And I think maybe I'm seeing that in this field. And so I think it's something to consider, that the proper fertility will also help keep the alfalfa growing healthy and reduce weed pressure in some of these alfalfa fields.